everyone. This is WGSN-DB Going Solo Network, and this is the Author's Corner Meet the Author. And I am Cece Schatz, the doyenne of relationship building. And I want to welcome you here to our platform on the Facebook, and we're also doing YouTube Live. So we kind of enjoy this very much. If you guys want to check out our website, it's goingsolomedia.com, and that's where we have all of our shows that are listed there and all of our wonderful hosts. But let's get on with the show because we've got a jam-packed show today. I tell you what, today is going to be, I think, one of the milestones that we're going to have in our Author's Corner, because today we have with us Dr. Lycka and Harriet Tinka, and let's bring them on so you guys can have a look at them as I read over the introduction, because I think it's very valuable that you all understand how important this is, because this life that you all have experienced is not only touching, but I think it's moving, and it's going to change the way we look at our lives here today. So we have Dr. Lycka and Harriet Tinka. They share harrowing and traumatic experiences from death. His from a misdiagnosis of what he was told was a terminal illness, and she from nearly fatal kidnapping and beating from a stalker. Together and individually, they faced their experiences with courage and found inspiration to each dawning day. Well, let's bring on the actual book itself, which inspired, from this tragic experience that you all have experienced. And the book is called The Secrets to Living a Fantastic Life, the 13 Golden Pearls Within. And so let's talk a little bit about this journey that you two kind of experienced. And I don't know who wants to go first, but let's talk about your journey of what got you to where you're at and wanting to write a book, how you were joined together to write this wonderful book to inspire and change lives for others.
Well, first, let me begin by thanking you for having us on your show today. It is indeed an honor and a privilege. Thank you very much. And I think with Harriet, I'm going to go first, not because I don't think women should go first. It's just that Harriet's story almost makes me cry all the time. And I don't like to cry in public. So I'm going to go first because mine is not as demanding on me. My story started in 2003. I was walking in Disneyland with my wife and my daughter. It was February, it was spring break, it was a hot, sticky day. My wife turned to me and said, "What's wrong with you, hon?" And, for once in my life, I hadn't said anything wrong. I hadn't done anything wrong. I hadn't even thunk anything wrong. So I really didn't know what she was talking about. But she persisted, and it was a persistence that was made out of concern. She said, "Again, what's wrong with you, hon?" And I didn't know what to say, but she said, "Your foot, it's flapping." Well, my right foot had developed a foot flap. It was slapping on the pavement with each step that I was taking. Suddenly and mysteriously, I had developed a right foot drop. So I turned to her and said, "I don't know what's wrong." And she said, "Well, when we get back, you better get this checked out." Well, when your wife tells you that in that tone of voice, you know you better get it checked out. And so I was a good boy. I listened to what she said. And I went to see a gazillion doctors. They did CAT scans. They did brain scans. They did PET scans. And they did scans. And at the end of the day, you know what they showed, Cece? They showed absolutely nothing.
That's terrible.
They were befuddled. They didn't know what to say. So you know what happens then is doctors do more tests and more tests and more tests. And I probably had $1 billion workup at the end of the day. I think I even had tests that didn't even exist yet. But, at the end of this, I ended up at the doorstep of a world-leading neurologist. Now, a neurologist is an expert in the nerves and the brain, and he's supposed to have all the answers to all these pieces. So I walked in and he said, "Dr. Lycka, you better be sitting down when I tell you this." And I said, "Why? I've got a dropped right foot." He said, "No, you don't. You have ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, and in 6 months you're going to be dead. Get your affairs in order. Wow, that really hit me like a ton of bricks. I didn't know what to say. So I asked back, can you prove this diagnosis? And he said, yes, of course, on autopsy.
Oh my gosh.
So I
Oh,
looked back at him again. I said, I'm not going to die to prove you wrong. Okay. So, when you go through this, you go through a grief reaction. You go through this time where you go through all the phases that Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross wrote in her book of death and dying. You go through anger. You go through a period of time you can bite the head off nails. You go through denial. There's nothing wrong with me. I can do anything. There's nothing happening in my life. But in your heart of hearts, that's wrong. You go through a period that you go through bargaining. Oh God, please let this go away, and I'll do anything if this doesn't happen to me. And you go through periods of depression where you can't even move a muscle in your body. You can't get out of bed. Now, these are phases in Kubler-Ross's book, but I don't think they're phases. They happen in seconds. They happen in milliseconds. Your brain goes from one to the other, and it's like a yo-yo, And so I'm a medical doctor, and I knew there was something wrong in this diagnosis. I knew it wasn't right. So I talked to my wife, who is also a medical doctor, and I asked her, what do you think's wrong? And she said, I haven't got the faintest idea. But you're smart. You can figure it out, she said. Wow, that was a vote of confidence. And back in 2003, there was this little thing invented. It was called the internet. Have you ever heard of that thing?
just a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's taken over the world. But back then we didn't have Dr. Google to ask everything. And back then it was very primitive. You had to use dial-on connections. You had to use a phone to get attached to the internet, and it would make a weird sound like for about 15 minutes, and finally you get attached. I was fortunate. I had friends that were nerds, and they were able to get me on the internet and help me to understand different things about it. And, so I looked on the internet for every disease that looked like ALS, but was not ALS, that was not Lou Gehrig's disease. And I found a doctor in Colorado Springs, Colorado, by the name of David Martz. And he had exactly the same symptoms I had, except he went through a period of time where he got worse much more rapidly. And he was on his deathbed when everybody was coming to say goodbye to him. He was so well known, doctors were coming from around the world. And a doctor from Texas came up and said to David, there's something wrong with this picture. I don't think you have ALS. I don't think you have Lou Gehrig's disease. David was very weak. All he could whisper was, what do I have? Well, the doctor from Texas said, I think you have chronic Lyme's disease. I think you are bitten by a tick, and it's mimicking this other disease. And he said, if I'm right, I'm going to start you on treatment, and you're going to get better. So David said, what do I have to lose? I'm dying anyhow. Start me. And a miracle happened. Just like Lazarus, he arose from the dead, and within 1 week, he was back to normal. Wow. I said, this guy has some answers that probably can help me too. So I phone him, and I get in touch with him at the Methodist Clinic, the Methodist Hospital in Colorado Springs. You see, a doctor can get in touch with any other doctor he wants to if he phones around, asks the hospitals if he's on staff there, and gets in touch with them. And so I got in touch with him, and we talked. And he said, Dr. Lycka, I've started a clinic treating people just like you and I. And I'm treating over 2,000 people with this disease right now. I said, wow. He said, can you come down and see me? I said, when? He said, right now. I said, David, I can't. It's our Thanksgiving weekend. My wife's having 50 people over. She'll kill me if I leave. He said, well, aren't there any planes in Canada? So I went to my wife. I told her the situation, and she said, of course you must go. If there's something wrong like this and it can help you, please go down. So I got on a flight from Edmonton to Denver. It was a great flight. And then I got on a flight from Denver to Colorado Springs. It's only a 15-minute flight, but it's the flight from hell because late in the day, the air comes off the desert and it causes that flight to drop over and over and over again. It's just like the drop of doom. It's a terrible flight. It's like the drop of doom times 20 or 30, and it keeps dropping and dropping 100 feet, 200 feet, 300 feet, and then it climbs again and does the same thing. Wow. I got off that plane. I literally crawled off, and there was David on the tarmac to meet me. But this was 2003. We didn't have the high security we do now. David was a well-known doctor, so he could meet his guests right on the tarmac, and he did. And we went and we talked for hours. And David said some magic words to me. He said, Dr. Lycka, I think history is repeating itself. I think I can treat you. And just like me, you'll get better. And he started me on treatment. And I was able to maintain my status as a leading cosmetic doctor for over 30 years. But when you go through this, your life changes. You realize, really, you've been given a second chance. You've been given an opportunity to live a life that's better, a life that you can do better. And I started to give back. I started to give more and more back. And one of the things I did was I gave to the YWCA that was running a competition to help women in our society. It was called the Women of Distinction event. And during that event, Harriet Tinka applied for one of the awards called the Turning Point Award. And so I met another amazing person who was on a similar journey to mine. And I'm going to turn it back to you just in case you have any questions, and then we'll let Harriet have her chance.
Well, I mean, it's definitely fascinating, and I'm sure you're not the only person that's ever gone through, that type of a scenario where they've not knowing what kind of illness they have, and things are quite gelling and things like that. And it's a blessing that you were able to put it together and find, what the actual, disease was, so that you could fix it. And it's funny because not funny, but it's a small world. Is my son did have that. He was bitten by a tick and got the Lyme disease and had to get treatment for it. And so yeah, I totally get that. And he was mentioning it to me at one time.
Chronic Lyme's disease is the great mimicker. When you get it, you can have just a simple disease, or you can have a very complex disease because it turns on the body's neurological system. It turns on the immune system, and it attacks different people in different ways. So it's a very, very difficult disease to treat and to know. And it is a great mimicker. And back in 2003, no one had ever heard of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's amazing how far we've come. Absolutely. Well, Harriet, let's talk a little bit about your story, because I mean, when I've read what happened to you, I mean, my heart just sank, and so let's share with the audience a little bit about your experience and what you've gone through, and really how you've turned your life around, because it's amazing all that you're doing now. So we want to, we want to honor that, definitely your journey and where you're at now. So share with our audience a little bit of your journey.
Oh, you bet. I'm happy to do that. Now, even today, it's still surreal for me to actually think that I'm a domestic violence survivor. So here I was, an international model, walking the runways full of confidence, yet I was a victim of a stalker. So my story begins when I just retired from the modeling industry. I had decided to go to university and start having a formal education. So it was at the university where I met a fellow student whom I befriended. But little did I know that his attraction to me was actually a psychological trap disguised that would end up being deadly. And that was your typical domestic violence victim. I was young, I was naive, I didn't even know the signs of an abusive relationship. Yet I was vulnerable enough to trust him. And the relationship started very well. He was a wonderful person. And I thought everybody should have a friend like him because he was caring. He was always there for me when I needed him. And he just treated me very well. But as I got to know him, he changed on me. All of a sudden, he had a really ugly, he started having another ugly side of him. He would hit me, he would yell at me, and even slap me every so often and punch me. But then he would apologize later on. So I thought, oh, that's okay. He apologized. Life goes on. So this went on, and it got to a point where it was way too much. He was so abusive that I was afraid for my life. So I went to the police and asked, what can I do? And they said there's nothing they can do unless something happens. The only thing that they can do is give me a restraining order, which would cause him not to come near me. So I said, okay, I'll take that. So I had a restraining order against him, and I thought life was good. So I went on my life. But it was one evening, I was busy studying for my next project and finishing it off. And I looked at the time, it was late at night. So I quickly put my books in my bag, and I went home. It was only 5 minutes from my house, the university. So there I was, just minding my own business, looking in my bag for my keys because I was so focused in getting home. So as I looked into the handbag, and I walked into the elevator, I felt somebody behind me touch my neck really, really tight. And his voice said, how dare you have a restraining order against me? You know that I'm the only man in the world who will ever love you. I have unconditional love for you. And I started screaming. And he got so scared that I was screaming. He took his shoes off, got his socks off, and he stuffed his socks into my mouth to silence me. And then he grabbed me out of the elevator and put me into his vehicle, and we started driving. So as we're driving, he's yelling, he's screaming, he's telling me how dare I do this, how come I don't listen to him? And then we drove up to an isolated area. And while we're driving, we saw a telephone booth. And he looked at the telephone booth and he said, you need to get out of this car and go call your parents and say goodbye to them, because this would be the very, very last time they'll ever hear from you. When he said that, I said no. And he was very upset at me saying no to him. So he said, Harriet, I'm going to repeat this. I have a rope in my car, I have a gun, and I have gasoline. I am going to wrap your body up with a rope, cut your body in pieces, and put gasoline all over your body. Now, are you going to get out of this car and call your parents and say goodbye to them? I looked at him again and I said, no. The second no really upset him, and he got so angry, and he reached over into the glove compartment, took out a knife, and he stabbed me 2 times on my left knee. And at that point, there was blood gushing everywhere. And even today, I have absolutely no idea how I got from that point where I was stabbed to the hospital. Because when I woke up, the police was outside the waiting room. The doctor and my father were in the waiting room. And the doctor looked at my father and he said that the stab wound was so bad, I was bleeding to death. I might lose my life. And I may never, if I do survive, I might never walk again because of the bone that was chipped in my leg. So when I heard the doctor say these words, I was shocked. I was a, I just remembered I used to be an international model, walking the runways full of confidence. Now I was a cripple and I was depressed. And the only thing that separated my confidence and depression was the trauma. So at that point, I started asking myself, why me? How could this happen? I'm a wonderful person. You know, you go through those phases where you question, why me? Then you think, okay, if not you, then who? Who should this happen to? So I knew asking those questions at this point would do me no good. So I had to start healing. So lucky for me, I was getting better. I was getting physiotherapy, learning how to walk again. So it was one afternoon, I was in the waiting room, feeling sorry for myself, but getting ready for my physio. And then a little girl walked into the waiting room. and she was so full of joy. And the details are in the book. So basically, there was a message she gave me that made an impact on what I was going through. I shared my story with her, and when she heard my story, she told me, I need to use my story of tragedy to impact the world. But when she told me that at that point, I had absolutely no idea what she meant, because life is about connecting the dots. And I didn't connect the dots until later on, when I got better, when I'd healed, that I needed to use my tragedy as a purpose to empower young women out there, or empower anybody who's going through what I'm going through, to use my life as a purpose. So when I got through the healing, I started making a difference in the community. I used my story to impact the world. So that's when I was nominated to be one of the I was one of the nominees at the event that Dr. Lycka sponsored, which is the YWCA Women of Distinction. And this event recognized women in the community. There were trailblazers, there were astronauts, they're all different women who had made an impact in the community. So the category that I was nominated in was called Turning Point. So it was basically what I'd done with my life to impact the community. So it was at that event, 15 women were nominated. I was the lucky recipient. I accepted the award. I felt humbled, and I got to meet Dr. Lycka, who was the sponsor of the event. I asked him for lunch. I bought him lunch, not to forget that, Dr. Lycka.
I'll never forget
That's right. And there we started our conversations, and he shared his story, and I got into the details of my stories. And at that point, we said, perhaps one day we should write a book. And that was 4 years ago. So after many meetings of coffee, we came out with a book called The Secrets to Living a Fantastic Life, with the 13 golden pearls that we discovered. And that's how it all came to be.
That's marvelous. That's absolutely a wonderful book. Very inspirational, extremely inspirational. So how did you guys come to writing this book together? Did you write certain paragraphs or stories, or how did you actually put the book together?
Well, let me start there, because this book is rather unique. First, we realized we wanted to make a difference in people's lives. And we realized there was a commonality between our experiences, that we had these golden pearls, they came to be. Now, do you know how a golden pearl is made?
No.
Okay.
Is it like an oyster?
Well, you get an oyster, but these are very, very specific types of oysters. They're only found in the South Pacific. They're only found in the Indonesian area, and they're very, very, very rare. Now, what makes a pearl is a little grain of sand gets inside of the lining of the oyster, and the oyster is traumatized by it. So it walls it off with this beautiful material called luster. And this luster coats that grain of sand and makes a beautiful, exquisite pearl. Now, these pearls are so extremely rare that a single solitary pearl can cost upwards of $10,000. So we realized in Harriet's and my life that our trauma, our experience, gave birth to these golden pearls, these pearls of wisdom, so to speak, that have come out because of our suffering and our trauma that we experienced.
Yeah, definitely the journey that you both have experienced on two separate situations, but both very extremely traumatic, and one that you mentally and physically have to overcome.
And then we had dialogues. I mean, we didn't meet once for lunch and coffee. We met numerous times, and we discussed these pearls. And what you'll find next in this book is there's all this dialogue between Harriet and I. Well, this was the dialogue we actually had as we were writing it. So we wanted to make this a voyage of discovery for people who came into the book, that they'd look at it. And so we did that through our dialogue. We basically brought it alive from our discussions that we were having. And then we realized that there were other experts out there, a lot of beautiful people that had talked on these topics. And that's where we decided to include quotes from all these. So we have over 140 quotes from various world's experts in order to make this even a better experience for everybody, to make that funnel of knowledge even more exquisite.
You bet. And every one of our chapters, Golden Pearls, starts off with a story that everybody can relate to, because stories stick. So every chapter has a story and a moral behind it, and then we have the conversation, as Dr. Lycka said. So they're very impactful, and it's something you can remember. It's sustainable.
Definitely. So this particular, your circumstances, then when you have the wisdom of pearls, coming across the 13 golden pearls, when you're actually, just putting those in the book, are you, are those being able to be applied to, I know that a lot of us have not suffered the trauma that either of you have suffered, but could we put those through everyday life as an inspiration to be able to move us forward, to get through to some of the difficulties that we do have?
Go ahead, Harriet.
Oh, definitely. Some of the golden pearls, just to touch on, I can just give you one, for example, that everybody can apply. One of the golden pearl is purpose. And we can all apply that in our lives. And especially now that we're going through this COVID, all of us are questioning, what is it, my purpose? What is going on? What do I need to do? So in the book, we have a golden pearl called purpose, and we use a phenomenon called ikigai. And ikigai is a Japanese word for reason for being. So if you're trying to find your ikigai, there's 4 questions to ask of yourself. Number 1, what is it that you love to do? Something that you do, even if they didn't pay you, you could still do it. So that's number 1. Number 2, what are you good at? Sometimes you may not know what you're good at. You may want to ask your friends, your family. Maybe you've helped them with a particular project. They know that you're very good at listening. Maybe you could be a psychologist. Maybe you're good in math. You could be an accountant. So that's the second question. Number 3 is, what does the community need? Or what does the world need? And then number 4, what is it that you can do and get paid for? Because we do want to get paid for what we love to do. So once all those 4 questions intercept, then you found your ikigai. And sometimes it's not easy. So what I would recommend is start off with your part-time ikigai. And these are things like, what do you love to do? Start journaling things that you love to do. What are you good at? So once you start with a part-time ikigai, you can do it as you're doing your own full-time job. If you're working, you can start off doing that part-time and do it as you go. And before you know it, you'll have your ikigai. And once you find your ikigai, you have found your purpose. So that's one of the golden pearls.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. I want to share with you and the audience some comments that we've received here. One person said, "Oh my God, been through the same in my life, going through, I think, what you have, Dr. Lycka." And then also 20 years of doctors and no answers. So someone has definitely experienced, some of this. I've had depression for most of my life, but the root was never treated. And then the last one was, I have a new life once the root was treated. So yeah, so it's nice, that people are feeling, or at least understanding, they're connecting with your journey and understanding how you're going through what you've gone through. And so it is amazing that something so tragic for both of you can be so, in the end, so inspirational and life-changing for people. And so it's just, it is amazing. What we're going to do is let's take just a moment of silence so that we can do our small break for the commercial. And when we come back, let's talk a little bit about, your journeys, how your book and how that's changing, and also where you're at now and where we can find the book and all of those kind of wonderful things. So let's do that here real quick. So Y'all, I just want to let you know that you are listening to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. This is the Author's Corner. Meet the author. I am CC Schatz, the doyen of relationship building. We want to thank you so much for listening to our show here today. We're just going to take a moment of silence just so that we can do a quick break for our advertisers when we drop down into the radio format. And so just stick around. We'll be right back with our wonderful guests here today. This show is not over. We have got so much more that we're going to be talking about with this great book, The Secrets to Living a Fantastic Life, The 13 Golden Pearls Within. So let's just a moment of silence. Okay, guys, I want to thank you so much for sticking with us here on WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. We are the #1 internet singles talk network, and we're very proud of that. You're listening to Author's Corner, Meet the Author. I'm CC Schatz, the doyen of relationship building. And let's get right on back to this wonderful book and these awesome guests that we have with us today. The book is called The Secrets to Living a Fantastic Life, The 13 Golden Pearls of Within. Beginning part of the show, we talked about the journeys of Dr. Alan Lycka and Harriet Tinka, and the book itself, how they've kind of gotten together to write this book as a gift, really, I think, to mankind, to help us get through some of the the traumas and some of the ups and downs that we experience in life. So let's talk a little bit about the book some more. And you know what, Harriet, before we took the break, you had talked about really finding your purpose. And I so love that, because I think so often when we're going through a life-changing experience, and it can be, a relationship loss, it can be something that's as grave as what had happened to you. And then, of course, doctor, what you've experienced with your health, not knowing what's going to happen. Are you really going to, when someone tells you that, it's like I know I found out I had cancer at one time at the beginning of my, I say beginning of my life, because from my divorce, and my whole life has changed, right? And I found out I had cancer, and the same thing. It was like, oh my gosh, the C word, but it ended up being nowhere near, what my mind's mind had made it to be, and I'm absolutely fine today. But it took me on a journey, and it took me on a path, and my divorce took me on a path that created something totally unexpected to me. And that's why I so can resonate with the purpose and how you can determine that. And so let's talk a little bit about some of those. Can you share with us another pearl that's in your book?
Let me just go to like a bonus pearl we threw in, something called fear. And the reason why I think that's important is because everybody has fears in their life, particularly at this time, this post-COVID time or during COVID times. It's a very scary time. I mean, there's 30 million Americans unemployed right now, and it's a period of time where a lot of people have had to be sequestered away in quarantine for months and months and months. And it's been a time that's been very trying on people and very hard on people. But the key about fear is you got to realize it's a bit of an eponym. And the letters are FEAR. And what that means is false expectations appearing real. And I think that's what people have to realize, that although we've gone through this difficult time, Harriet and I are really models of what happens when you address your fear. We're really people that have overcome something. We're people that have survived where others would have not. And I think that's what people have to look at here, is not the trials we went through, but the success that we've had afterwards. And both Harriet and I have moved on to a place that we can serve others. We're professional speakers, we're authors, we're coaches. And if anybody would like a professional speaker, either virtually on the internet or on a stage when they become available again, we'd like to offer our services. And we'd also like to state that the pearls are very, very, very important in this regard. And I'm going to grasp at another one, something that's very important, that was part of my life very importantly, and that is forgiveness. Forgiveness is something I had to do with that doctor that gave me the misdiagnosis. And I'm going to turn it over to Harriet and let her talk a little bit about forgiveness, which is one of our greatest golden pearls. Go ahead,
Big
Harriet.
one. Yeah, so the forgiveness is a big one because we're definitely not, forgiveness is not a natural instinct. Sorry, I need some water there. So forgiveness is a really difficult time because we're all often told forgive quickly so you can start healing. But really, it's not easy to forgive. It's easy to forgive if a friend of yours is late and you'll forgive that, or if somebody cuts you off and you're driving, and that's easy to forgive. But if something as traumatic as what happened to me and Dr. Lycka happened, or if somebody hurts your child, it's not easy to forgive. So what's really natural is hate. When hate is a natural instinct that we're born with. And if you look in Wikipedia, the definition of hate really is an intense dislike of something of someone. So when people say, I don't want to hate, really what they mean to say is, I don't want to be angry because anger is reactive, it's lashing at things. So what I had to do to get through the forgiveness, I had to use 3 steps. So number one, write down why you hate and why. So I had to say, I hate my stalker because he put me in the hospital. I hate my stalker because he put a scar on my leg. So that's step number one. Write down why you're angry, why you hate, and why. Number two, change the second sentence to love. I hate my attacker, but I love being healthy. I hate my attacker, but I love my perfect imperfections. And then the very last step, get rid of the hate and focus on the love. I love being healthy. I love my perfect imperfection. I love my family. So all of a sudden, it's a love journal. So in the morning, you wake up, I love being healthy. I love my perfect imperfection. I love being healthy. So you keep saying that every day in the morning and afternoon. All of a sudden, you don't even have the hate. And it takes time. It's a 3-step method. You have to really be patient with yourself and forgive. Because if you don't heal the hurt in the past, you will bleed in the future. So that's what I found forgiveness really helped me move forward.
Yeah, you're so right with that. You're absolutely right. I want to also share with the audience now. I know that you guys have gone into doing public speaking, sharing your work. You've written this beautiful book that is definitely changing lives. And so that I hope everyone, I'm going to put the book up here so you guys know it. It's The Secrets of Living a Fantastic Life, the 13 Golden Pearls Within. Now, Harriet, you have gone on to actually do, because I know you've done a lot of other things, but you're also the founder and the CEO of an award-winning social enterprise. It's called Empowered Me Inc.
You bet.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So the company's mission is to inspire and empower girls and women. So thank you so much for that. Tell us just briefly what that's about so we can share with the audience.
Oh, you bet. So Empowered Me is about helping young women and help them let go of those limiting beliefs that they may have so they can be the truest version of themselves. So it's all about emotional intelligence, having the self-awareness, the self-worth, just making them aware of who they are and just letting go of other people's conversation dialogue and making themselves having them be themselves on purpose. And it's just amazing what I see women come in or girls come in and they feel down in the dumps. And when they leave the program, they feel so empowered. It also empowers me to keep on going.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Now, do they come into an actual platform, like into an office somewhere, or are you doing things online because of COVID now? Are you doing having
Yeah.
meetings, virtual meetings?
Oh, initially I was going to them, but now because of COVID, it's virtual, and I do one-on-one, and I also actually do work with boys because I know if you're going to empower our girls, we also have to work with boys as well. So I also do work with boys, and in fact, I've been doing boys workshops online as well. So because if we understand our boys, they can understand us. So it's basically all in one. So
Oh,
it's really
wonderful.
very exciting.
Now, is there an age group at all that you're doing with both women, the young girls and the men, the boys?
From 10 and above.
10
But
and above.
I've even gone younger. So when before COVID, I was going to schools, daycares, elementary school, and so on. So I don't want to limit myself because I'm portable.
Absolutely. We don't want to do it. And, we have the internet and everything, so we can just do anything we
It's
want to
even
do.
better.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. Well, so I think it's wonderful what both of you are doing, giving back. It's amazing, that you are, like, again, taking this tragedy and really evolving and giving back to other people, doing your public speaking, going out and doing various things. We do appreciate it. Now, where are we going to find the book?
Well, first, before I do that, I'd like to give something to your wonderful audience. And what we'd love to do is like everybody to have golden pearls. So first of all, we'd like to give you some golden pearls, 52 of them, in fact, one a week for the next 52 weeks. And all you have to do is text us the word golden pearls, pearls with an S, to 1-819-717-2515. 1-819-717-2515. And there you'll get 52 golden pearls. And we'd like to also give you 5 real golden pearls. Now, these are not the ones that cost $10,000 each, but they're probably more valuable than that. So these little pearls are going to be coming with a little mantra with each one. So as you touch each little pearl, you can concentrate on bringing these golden pearls in your life. And all you have to do is write Ellen at drellenlycka.com. That's Ellen, A-L-L-E-N, at D-R, Ellen, A-L-L-E-N, Lycka, Lycka.com. And we'll ask for your address and your name and so we can get these to you, because I think it's very important you integrate these pearls into your individual life, because these pearls are really found deep down inside of you, and you just have to find them and you have to bring them to the surface. And by doing so, you will have a fantastic life like Harriet and I have been able to live without all the hardship and trauma that we have gone through.
Absolutely. And so so for the free gift, if they text, is it golden that they need to text?
Golden pearls. Golden pearls. If they could text us the word golden pearls to 1-819-717-2515. That's 1-819-717-2515. Golden pearls. Pearls with an S.
All right, so we have that right there. So your free gift, golden pearls. You just have to text golden pearls. I didn't left off texting it, so I do promise.
Or just email me at Ellen at drellenlycka.com.
Okay. Well, that's great. Well, I want to thank you so much for giving that gift to the audience, and I hope that they will take advantage of that. 52 golden pearls. I can imagine every day getting a new golden pearl to be able to, take with us to get through some of this difficulties that we're having in just everyday life. It's just amazing, absolutely amazing. So I want to thank you both now to buy the book. Are we going to go to Amazon, or are we going to your website to buy the book?
There's 2 places you can get it. One is you can get it at fantasticlifebook.com, and there's a video of Harriet and I on that site with Jack Canfield. You know Jack Canfield of Chicken Soup for the Soul, so you can find out a little bit more of it at that site as well. Now, at that site, if you do go through there, 20% of the price of the book will be going to helping women that go to women's shelters. We want to end domestic abuse in this world, and that way we can keep track of it. Or if you'd rather, you can go to Amazon.com. The prices of the book is astronomically good there right now. And if you can't afford the book, it's even on Kindle. And Kindle, it's just 99 cents. So you can get these golden pearls right there, so you can take them and live them in your life.
Yeah, Absolutely beautiful. Well, you're definitely doing whatever you can to give back to help those that are struggling as you have, and so your journey is definitely it's a hard journey in which to travel. I know you have both struggled terribly with it, but what at the end result, what you're giving to other people is definitely changing their lives. So we want to thank you for stepping out, giving the pearls to other people for them to be able to share with others along the way. So we appreciate that.
Well, we really thank you for having us on the show. It's been a beautiful time. And Harriet, do you have some last words to say?
Yes. I know your show is usually about relationships, and before you get any relationship, my advice would be get into a relationship when you're already full. Don't say I'm looking for somebody else to fill me. You're already full. Somebody else will just enhance you. You want somebody else to come into your life to enhance you, so you can continue loving yourself unconditionally. And one of the biggest thing that me and Dr. Lycka like to advocate is it's not what happens to you, is what you do with what happens. And I also want to thank you for having us. It's been a wonderful experience. Thank you so much.
It's great having you, and I hope you come back on again and share with us other. I know because you're going to be continuously building and on your lives and on the things that you're sharing with other people. So I hope you will come back and share with us again. And it's been a terrific experience. And again, if we can help you with anything, we would love to be able to do that. So please.
Well, let me make a couple of suggestions.
Yeah.
One is you can have Harriet on the show alone so that you can explore her part of the story a little bit better. And you can have me on your show alone as well to explore parts of your story a little bit more. Plus, we would like to invite you to come on our podcast called The Secrets to Living a Fantastic Life podcast. And we'd love to have you so we can ask parts of your interesting life.
That would be great. I would love that. And I'll also share that with all of our other hosts that are here on our channel. And maybe they would definitely love to also be on. So that would be wonderful.
We would love that very much. Thank you very much. That's how we can help each other with this view, so we can help other people have a fantastic life as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I totally agree with that. So again, everyone, the book is called The Secrets to Living a Fantastic Life, the 13 Golden Pearls Within. Of course, if you all would text the 1-819-717-2515. Just text Golden Pearls, and you can also receive 52 Golden Pearls, or email Dr. Lycka at Allen, ALLEN, at DRALLENLYCKA.com. And we'll definitely have you both back on individually. We'd love that. And I'm sure some of our other hosts would love to also speak to you too. So it would be great doing that. But your book definitely is changing lives. You two are an inspiration. And I know that you definitely have helped others along the way. So I want to thank you so much for giving back and doing all that you can do. We do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's our pleasure to be on your show.
Well, thank you. All right, everyone. The time goes by very quickly. So you're listening to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. And again, we are listening to the Author's Corner, Meet the Author. We had a fantastic time today. I hope you guys will enjoy it as much as I. If you didn't catch the whole show, you've got to go back and listen to the rebroadcast. Share it with other people. Inspire them. Lift them up and really help change their lives. That's what it's all about here today on this show. It's just absolutely fantastic. I am CC Schatz, the doyenne of relationship building. And again, our website is goingsolomedia.com. You can email me at goingsolonetwork@gmail. I love to hear from you. Your emails are very important to us, and we definitely read each and every one. So I love you. I'll see you back here, same time, same place. Bye for now.